Have you ever woke up with that feeling of living in automatic mode, as if everything had lost its meaning? Sometimes the soul screams for a new beginning, not those who exchange what is external, but of those who transform what is inside. And that is exactly where the strength of Psalm 27 comes in. It is not just an old text of the Bible, it is a spiritual compass for those who need light when everything looks too dark. When the heart is downcast, confusing mind and fear insists on doing home. We need more than motivation, we need direction. And that is why this video was created, to be a moment of reunion with light, salvation, and the purpose that only God can offer, no matter if you feel weak, lost, or discredited. Psalm 27 reminds you that you are your fortress, and the morning prayer is the starting point for this renewal. Here you will not find magic formulas, but it will discover a possible way that of trust, active faith, and spiritual renaissance. You will understand how God's presence not only protects, but also lights a flame inside you, one that gets you up, even after the hardest falls. So get ready, because today is not any day. Today is your start with purpose. There are days when we wake up, but it seems that the soul is still sleeping. The body gets up, the routine begins, but inside, everything seems cloudy. It is in these moments that Psalm 27 enters as a radius of spiritual sun. Is the Lord my light and my salvation, whose fear will I? This verse is not only beautiful, it is a cry of faith that arouses the spirit. When God's light enters, even emotional tiredness loses strength. God is not just light that shines in heaven, He is the light that lights within us. When we let this light reach us early in the morning, something changes. Morning prayer becomes more than a habit, it is a reconnection with the divine fortress that sustains us. You may not even have all the answers, but with the presence of God, you have direction. And that's all. It's a huge early day. Waking up with the heart connected to the sky does not require complicated formulas. Just start by saying, "Lord, be my light today too." This simple delivery already moves the invisible. It is like opening the windows of the soul so that hope between and sweeps darkness. Gratitude for the new day, coupled with confidence in the Lord, already brings inner peace even before coffee. Psalm 27 does not start with regret, begins with conviction. This is a powerful teaching. Instead of waking up talking about problems, how about starting by stating, "The Lord is my fortress"? This changes the tone of the day, changes the focus of the heart. God's light reminds us that we are not alone and that He is greater than any shadow He tries to reach us. Meditating in this truth early on helps to organize inner chaos. Instead of running to solve everything, we learn to breathe and remember, God is with me. This kind of simple and practical meditation transforms everyday life. And you don't need an hour of prayer. 5 minutes with focus and delivery are enough to renew the spirit. If you want to go further, how about writing this verse and leaving it on the head? Or put a reminder on your cell phone with the phrase, "Are you my light?" Small gestures like this create habits of faith. Over time, you will realize that even on difficult days, its light continues to shine firm inside you. This is daily renaissance. Best of all, this light is not just for you. When we allow ourselves to be illuminated by God, our life becomes a lighthouse for others. Waking up with purpose is this understanding that your faith can be inspiration for those still in darkness. And the good news? Every day is a new chance to rekindle this light. Fear is something everyone feels, even those who have faith. But the big difference is how we face this fear, paralyzed or with courage from above. Psalm 27 does not deny the existence of fear, it shows us how to overcome it. When do we affirm, "Who will I fear?" We are not saying that the problem has disappeared, but God is bigger than him. Biblical courage is not the absence of fear, it is a presence of trust. It is knowing that even tremendous, you can move forward, because there is an invisible fortress supporting you. This fortress is God. And when you pray in the morning by delivering the day to His hands, that confidence grows as a root on land. You don't walk alone, walks with the one who sees everything. God's presence brings a peace that confuses fear, that peace that makes us face exams, decisions, conflicts, and uncertainties with serenity that we can't even explain. Have you noticed how, sometimes, after prayer, fear is still there, but you don't send you anymore? This is how faith acts does not eliminate the challenge, but changes the posture with which you face it. Courage is to choose to trust even without human guarantees. It is looking at life, taking a deep breath and declaring, "If God is for me, nothing wins me." Sometimes this courage appears in the form of a difficult yes or a necessary no, but it is always born of the certainty that there is a greater purpose. The light that comes from God illuminates the way to the most complicated crossroads. When fear hits sand, he will remember what Psalm 27 says: "Even if an army surrounds me, my heart will not be remedied." It's strong, right? But it is not loose poetry. It is spiritual truth. This is what transforms common believers into warriors of faith, not for what they have, but for those who support them. A good practice is to write down which fears you are facing today. Then write next to each one, "The Lord is my fortress." This is not self-help, it is spiritual repositioning. It is to declare who commands your heart. Over time, what was once giant turns just one detail in the face of trust in God. And if you think courage is something that only the strong ones have, it's time to review it. The greatest examples of courage that the Bible shows came from people with fear, but with faith. And their secret? They remained firm because they knew who to trust. You can too. Start today. God is with you. Morning prayer is not a religious obligation, it is a daily present. It is the moment when the soul talks to heaven before busy with the earth. Starting the day praying is like aligning the heart with God's will before the world tries to dictate the rhythm. It doesn't have to be a long preaching, just be honest. A phrase with faith has more value than 1,000 empty words. Transforming prayer into a habit is a practical way to cultivate the presence of God. How about choosing a corner of the house for this? It can be the tip of the bed, a corner in the living room, or even during the shower. The important thing is to separate a moment and say, "Lord, this time is yours." This little gesture changes the atmosphere of the day. When God is the first voice we hear, the rest of the day obeys another tone. Psalm 27 shows us that the heart that seeks God finds refuge, and the search begins in prayer. It's not about repeating formulas, but about opening your chest and saying, "Dad, I'm here." Sometimes with tears, sometimes with gratitude, sometimes just with silence. And that's fine. God even understands what we cannot say. He hears what comes out of his mouth and what screams inside his heart. A practical tip is to pray with the open Bible. Read the verse, "The Lord is my light and my salvation," and transform it into prayer. "Lord, illuminates my way today." Do it calmly, meditating. Prayer becomes more alive when it is fed by the Word. This is where she becomes sacred ritual, not a cold custom, but a personal encounter with the Creator. There are people who wake up running and think they don't have time to pray, but it is precisely these days that praying is more necessary. You can pray as you get ready, while driving, as you walk. It is not the place that makes prayer sacred, it is the intention. And when the intention is pure, the sky leans. Prayer doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be real. Over time, the morning prayer is no longer an effort, and it becomes longing. You get missed when you don't. And this is the sign that your spiritual life is being renewed. It's like taking a deep breath after air without air. Prayer realizes us, reminds us that we are children, and that God has not forgotten any detail of our day. The most beautiful is that in prayer we are not just heard, we are transformed. Gradually, the weights become lighter, the lighter mind, the firmer heart. Delivery begins with words, but ends in peace. And when you feel this peace early on, everything changes. Even the problems seem smaller when you started the day in the presence of God. Each dawn is a silent reminder that God still believes in you. The sun is born again, even if yesterday was dark. This is not just a natural phenomenon, it is a spiritual sign. When light crosses the curtains, it is as if God said, "Let's try again." Psalm 27 echoes this invitation, reaffirming that the divine presence is constant. The morning light is not just physical, it is spiritual. She represents the chance to start over, to get rid of what was arrested the night before. The mistakes, the fears, the insecurities. Everything can be delivered to the new day. And do you know what is the first step for this renaissance? The confidence that God continues to write his story, even when you think you are blank. Psalm 27 speaks of a faith that resists darkness. And dawn in this context is more than beautiful, it is prophetic. He announces that no night lasts forever, and that with God there is always a new page waiting to be written. If yesterday was marked by pain, today it may be the beginning of overcoming. It is in today that the miracle begins. A good practice is to create the habit of thanking God every time the sun appears. It can be simple, such as opening the window and saying, "Thank you, sir, for one more chance." This kind of gratitude has power. It feeds the spirit and brings inner peace. And peace is the fertile soil where the greatest transformations are born. Dawn is also to remember that we are not the same as yesterday. What hurt us yesterday, maybe today has no power. This is healing. And healing comes when we open to the new, to what God will still do. You do not need to repeat the same standards. With unshakable faith, you can live today with more lightness and purpose. If possible, reserve a few minutes from dawn just for you and God. Before taking the phone, before turning on the TV. Sit, breathe, and only be present. This is spiritual meditation. It does not require technique, only presence. And in this silence, often God speaks. He doesn't need noise to move his heart, he needs space. What if the cloudy dawn day? All good. The light continues to exist behind the clouds. God's presence does not depend on the weather. Even when everything looks gray, he is still acting. The spiritual rebirth does not come from the outside, it comes from the inside out. And it starts with the choice to trust once again. Faith is not just believing in God when everything is fine, it is continuing believing even when everything seems to go wrong. This is where it becomes active, alive, transformative. Psalm 27 teaches us to wait in the Lord with courage. Waiting does not mean staying still, it means trusting as you walk. And this confidence renews the soul in a way no one else can do. The faith that renews is the one that moves even with a tired heart. It is not about always feeling, but about deciding to follow. You may wake up discouraged, but when you pray, read the word and declare, "I trust in the Lord," something realizes inside. Active faith gives new eyes to old problems. And where before there was despair, now there is hope. This faith also challenges us to have courage in small gestures. Forgiving someone, for example, requires more faith than most imagine. Starting over a project, trying one more time, or simply resting trusting God, all this is an expression of faith. Faith is not an escape from reality. It is to face it with the certainty that God is in control. A good way to activate this faith is by writing biblical promises in a notebook and praying with them. Take the verse, "Wait in the Lord, be strong, and he will strengthen your heart," and say aloud. Repeating this daily changes your way of thinking. It's like watering a seed that will soon flourish. Active faith needs constant food. Renewing faith also knows how to rest. Trusting in God is not disguised anxiety, it is inner peace. It's not you saying "I believe," but losing sleep every night. It is trusting and sleeping in peace, knowing that God works even while you rest. This is spiritual maturity, and no one grows up without going through this school of silence. It is common to confuse faith with self-strength, but true faith leads us to depend on God, not our performance. You may be weak, but if you keep trusting, you are already winning. The strength of the Christian is not to be unbeatable, but to know where to seek refuge. And this refuge, as the psalm states, is God himself. In the end, active faith is the engine of spiritual rebirth. It moves, transforms, healing, and prepares. No matter how standing or without direction you feel, if you can still say, "God, I trust," then you are exactly where it should be. And this is the first step in changing everything. In a world that requires so much of us, finding refuge is essential. And there is no safer shelter than the presence of God. Psalm 27 says that on the day of adversity, he will hide us in his pavilion. This is not empty metaphor, it is a living promise. When everything collapses, it is there, in the intimacy with the Father, that we find strength to continue. God's refuge is not a hiding place to escape reality, but a place of strengthening to face it. In silent prayer, in the spilled tears, in the closed room, there God manifests himself. He welcomes us without judgment, hears us without haste, and comforts us as no one else can do. And when we leave this secret place, we come out stronger. There are days when all we can say is, "Lord, help me." And this request, as simple as it sounds, opens the doors of the sky. God's presence does not require well-formulated speeches, it responds to sincerity. The peace that comes after this meeting is inexplicable. You get up with the same problem, but with another spirit. Refuge is also knowing that we can cry at the Father's feet without fear. There is no weakness to pour out before God. On the contrary, it is in this spill that he turns sadness into overcoming. It may seem that no one understands his pain, but the Lord understands. He sees what no one sees, and acts on what no one can reach. A practical way to seek this refuge is by creating a personal altar, a corner, a song, a biblical reading. When you set a space of communion, you create a peace routine. It doesn't have to be complex, just be true. There, in the midst of routine, God makes home. And where he dwells, there is rest. This refuge also protects us from the rush of the world. The presence of God slows down the heart. As everything asks for urgency, he offers calm. It's like a hug that has no time to end. When you learn to hide in God, you discover that the true shelter is not on the run, but on delivery. And this delivery changes everything. In difficult days, remember you don't have to understand everything. You just need to take refuge on him. Make Psalm 27 your prayer when you lack direction. Say with faith, "The Lord is my fortress." This statement, made in the secret, has the power to move the visible. Because whoever makes God your refuge is never helpless. There are words we hear and soon forget, but there are others that mark us forever, and those of Psalm 27 are in this second group. They are not just letters gathered in a verse, they are spiritual seeds. When repeated with faith, they become shields, direction, relief. It is amazing how simple a simple Bible phrase can sustain the soul on a difficult day. The Lord is my light and my salvation is not just a beautiful phrase. It is a powerful truth. When you declare it, you are reprogramming your mind and feed your spirit. God's word has this power. It not only informs, it transforms. Each time you meditate on it, something inside you aligns with the sky. A simple but deep practice is to choose a verse a week and repeat it every day. Place it in the refrigerator, in the mirror, as a wallpaper of the phone. Read aloud. This repetition is not magical, it is meditation. It is letting the sacred words dive in the heart. Over time, they become part of who you are. Psalm 27 is like a poetry-shaped prayer and also a manual of faith for difficult times. He teaches to trust, to wait, not to despair. Each verse leads us to a deeper level of communion. When you read carefully, you realize that he talks to his pain, his fear, his desire for peace. It is the Bible talking directly to you. Sacred words are also spiritual weapons. When fear comes, you can fight it with the truth of the word. When the doubt tries to invade, you may remember, even if an army endies me against me, my heart will not be frightened. This is not self-help, it is faith based on promise. And God's promise does not fail. A practical tip: several an audio you're reading Psalm 27 and listen before bed or upon waking. Or send it to someone you know is going through fights. The word has this power to reach places that our hands cannot. When you share scripture, you are spreading light, hope, and healing. In the end, the Bible is the only book that, when read, also reads who is reading. She reveals, corrects, consoles, directs. And Psalm 27 is one of the texts that most evidence this. So don't read him in a hurry. Read hungry, because between the lines of these words is God himself, ready to talk to you. After being touched by a truth as powerful as that of Psalm 27, keeping it to you would be spiritual selfishness. Faith was made to be lived, but also to be shared. And it doesn't have to be with a sermon or ready speech. Sometimes a simple "I'm going to pray for you" is already light enough to light hope on someone. Small gestures can cause large awakening. You do not need to be a pastor or preacher to be an instrument in the hands of God. Just be available. A conversation at work, a message on WhatsApp, a verse sent at the right time. All this can be a salvation channel. Sharing faith is to take the divine fortress that you found, even those who are still fighting in the dark. If Psalm 27 has strengthened you, there is a great chance that it can also strengthen someone around you. Maybe someone in your family, maybe a friend, maybe a stranger on the internet. Have you ever thought about posting this verse on social networks with a brief testimony of you? This is not showing off, it is allowing others to see what God can do. Shared faith is like planted seed. You may not see the fruit immediately, but growth begins as soon as the right heart touches. Sometimes the person doesn't even answer, but he read, and that is there, quiet, germinating. When you share faith, you spread God's love. And God's love is the only thing that never comes back empty. A powerful practice is to create the habit of asking, "Can I pray for you?" It's simple, but opens doors for deep conversations. It shows care, interest, humanity, and it can be the point of turning into someone's life. You don't have to have all the answers, you just need to be willing to love as Christ loved, in a practical and generous way. The mission of sharing faith also transforms who shares. Each time you donate yourself spiritually, you grow up, learn, mature, becomes more sensitive. It's not just the other that has touched you or two. And over time, he realizes that his life has come to purpose, that your start with God was the beginning of a call. And in the end, Psalm 27 becomes more than a personal prayer, becomes an invitation. An invitation for others to find light, salvation, courage, protection. The world is full of people waiting for a word, and you can be that voice. So, how about starting today? Share this faith with someone. Be a channel, whether light. And now I ask you, what keeps you from starting over today with purpose? Perhaps it is the fears, the trauma, the tiredness, or even the habit of surviving in the automatic. But God has brought you here to remind you, you can be reborn, and Psalm 27 is proof of that. In it, you find courage to face, light to decide, faith to continue. Do not underestimate the power of a simple prayer made with the heart. Do not minimize the impact of repeating every day that the Lord is your light and your salvation. These attitudes, small in the eyes of the world, move the heavens toward it, but they need to go from you. Faith is not feeling, it is position. So reflect, how can you apply what you heard here? What part of your routine can be consecrated to God in the morning? What verse will you start declaring with faith? Start small, but start firmly, because transformation happens one step at a time. And this step can be today. If this content told you, if you touched you somehow, then don't keep it just for you. Share with someone who also needs a fresh start. And more than that, allow yourself to live everything God has reserved. He has lit the light, now it's with you. Subscribe to the channel, enable notifications, and follow the next videos. Here, each message is a new opportunity to approach God, grow in faith, and live with more purpose. And remember, when you decide to seek God's presence early on, everything changes. The day changes. Life changes. You change.